What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple Newtype, and in this episode we are heading back to UC0089 as we begin our coverage of Mobile Suit Gundam Walpurgis. In this manga, we will learn about Mashido Oaks from Side 2 Olympus. His colony is attacked by Neo-Zeon remnants and someone claiming to be Haman Khan. The problem is, Haman Khan is dead. Who is this Haman? Let's not waste any time, and let's get into this. The Titan's Alexandria-class ship, the Avaz, is unable to contact the Jupitrus. Mashido Oaks is piloting the O and fighting against the Zeta. The joints are all shot and the mobile suit is not moving. He yells at the O and tells it to move. Just like Paptimus Sirocco, the Zeta penetrates the O. As the O is destroyed, Mashido wakes up. He fell asleep while playing video games. His friend Lucia calls him and tells him that he went AFK mid-match. She reminds him that his Twitch streamers won't be happy. His father comes home. Mashido tells him that one of his videos went viral. His father freaks out and tells him to stop succeeding and doing his best. He takes his Hado and leaves. His father gets an important call regarding something named Overon. His dad tells him not to show his strengths and to hide his talents. He doesn't get why his father tells him this. He says, why even be born at all if you do nothing? His Hado rings. He gets an incoming call from Lucia. Lucia and Mashido post their videos on an underground network. On the same network, Lucia heard that an AUG fleet is heading towards Side 2, looking for Neo-Zeon remnants. Mashido says there's no need to worry because they are in peacetime. But as those words leave his mouth, he sees beam lights flashing outside of the colony. Out in space, a Gallus J goes in to attack an Argama Kai-class ship. The Argama Kai-class ship, the Yulong, is a heavy assault space cruiser and an upgraded Argama class built at the shipyards in Amman on the lunar surface, where most of the Irish-class ships were also assembled. The most notable change was the largely extended keel. With the alterations to the ship's balance, the engine pods were also changed, with dual-type engines being installed on both sides of the vessel. Many of the flaws have been discovered within the Argama-class vessels after the AUG Strategic Headquarters had altered their policy in the war against Neo-Zeon. The Yulong was built to be able to form a fleet alongside the Nahil Argama class. Yulong is derived from the white horse appearing in Wuchang's Journey to the West. Suddenly, the Zeta 2 V-Type slices the Gallus J in two. The MSZ 008V Zeta 2 V-Type is a variant of the Zeta 2, which we will eventually cover. The Zeta 2 was eventually shelved, as Double Zeta was prioritized. This unit was actually used by an AUG assault squad to help capture Axis. The battle data from the end of the first Neo-Zeon War allowed the AUG to improve upon the mobile suit. The V-Type is one of these three variants. This is more or less identical to Zeta 2, but the V-Type has a goggle sensor instead of the two eye sensors you find on the majority of Gundams. This will go to evolve into the Rozelle. It is equipped with a beam saber, Vulcans, a modified beam rifle that was used by the Super Gundam from Zeta, and a modified version of Zeta's shield. Like Zeta, this also has a Wave Rider mode. Also, if you ever wanted to see what a Gundam looks like in high heels, well, here you go. The pilot of this mobile suit is Thane Amadea. Captain Frederica Hermie is amazed by Thane's skills. Raymond Martinez wants to head out to Olympus to offload the debug data. He is from Anaheim Electronics. Hermie wonders if he doesn't trust them, but he just doesn't want to underestimate the enemy. As she opens the hatch to let Martinez out, an unknown object approaches the Yulong. Someone in the O is able to sense him nearby. She asks for the Overon to guide her. That is when she is able to sense Mashido. Neo-Zeon remnants attack her along with the AUG. A hole suddenly rips through the colony right next to Mashido. The vacuum of space pulls him out of the colony. He thinks he is going to die, but waiting to catch him is the O. Lucia is hiding in an evacuation bunker and is worried about Mashido. She keeps calling him, but he doesn't answer. She begins sweating profusely. The person in the O is panicking, thinking the person is dead. They also think that it is Master Paptimus. Thane in Zeta 2 notices the O, but it doesn't seem to be an enemy. He must focus on Neo-Zeon. A Satellon-class ship launches a Zaku machinery. The MS-11R Zaku machinery is a variant of the Act Zaku. Remember, the Act Zaku was used by Zeon during the One-Year War, and eventually used by EFF during the Grips conflict and the first Neo-Zeon War. This is Neo-Zeon's attempt to reverse engineer the old Act Zaku into something modern. This mobile suit can stand its own against the future Gyaradoga. These units are currently functioning as a royal guard to a certain someone who is pretending to be Haman. They head out to support this Haman Khan in the Demeter. The AMX-114 Demeter is a slimmed-down version of the Cubely and has 3 booster binders instead of the 2 shoulder binders. Each binder stores 10 funnels with a total of 30. The funnels can also be used as beam sabers. It is also equipped with a beam gun and doubles as a beam saber. This mobile suit also looks like it's wearing high heels. Starting to see a pattern in this manga. She is rallying the Neo-Zeon remnants to help protect Side 2 They go into attack. Captain Hermie tells the crew to be careful and not to damage the colony anymore. A Salamis-class ship, the Salamanca, goes down. Mobile suits are heading directly towards another Salamis-class ship, the Valencia. Thane notices that the Dementor is a Newtype mobile suit. He quickly transforms into Wave Rider mode and evades the funnels. Haman was amazed that Thane was able to evade. She rushes in to attack and calls him a Zeta wannabe. The way this mobile suit moves is similar to Haman Khan, but she is dead. Captain Hermes sees the Demeter and thinks that it is Haman as well, even though a certain Haman died 6 months ago. One crew member says that the voice signature matches Haman's voice. Hermie is very confused. Mashido sees darkness. He thinks he is dead, but he hears a voice talking about Overon. The voice wonders if they are being targeted. He opens his eyes and realizes that he is in a car with another man. He is so confused about what is going on. It is his father, but he doesn't tell him to get out and go to the evacuation shelter with his classmates. He gives him his student uniform and heads out, not telling him a damn thing. The man, Kobo-san, wonders if his son will be okay. Mashido's father simply says he is sorry for getting him involved. There's a blockade with 4 soldiers pointing rifles at their car. Mashido's father speeds up. Mashido hears gunshots in the direction of his father. He runs after him, but a man holds him back. It is Raymond Martinez. He tells him that he is with Anaheim Electronics. He lets Mashido know that AE owns this colony. Soldiers begin surrounding the two. Raymond welcomes him, calling him Shamal, better known as Paptimus Sirocco. He says his name is Mashido Oaks, not some Titans member that turns war into a game. As the soldiers swarm on him, he runs away. Raymond tells him to let him go and to not injure him. The commander doesn't really understand why they are needed. These EFF soldiers might be a part of the Manhunters, based off of their SWAT-like outfits. The soldiers chase Mashido. He doesn't understand why they are referring to him as a war criminal. As 2 soldiers go in to grab him, a white Theo comes down and tells him to climb on board. As he gets into the cockpit, he sees an injured girl. She says to take the mobile suit and refers to him as Master Paptimus. Even this random person thinks that he is a war criminal for some reason. The soldiers whip out some rocket launchers and begin firing on the mobile suit. He moves the girl and sits in the cockpit. As he boots up, the monitor says Overon. He says that he feels like he has done this before, but he has only played in a simulator. As he begins moving the mobile suit, the soldiers pull back. Raymond notes that this mobile suit is Overon. At a remote location on Olympus, Kobo-san and Mashido's dad break open a seal on a new prototype. He is going to fly it out of the colony, so it doesn't fall into the hands of EFF. If it doesn't work, he says that he will put his faith in the hands of his son. He gets into contact with the Overon to find that his son is in the cockpit. Mashido wants to know what's going on. Outside of the colony, a Satalon-class ship attacks the Yulong. Hermes' crew suggests that they retreat, but if they do, they won't be able to recover the Salamis escape pods. The Demeter and Zeta 2 continue their fight. Neo-Zeon sends Haman coordinates inside the colony. She makes a retreat inside. Hermes tells Thane that they will be fine and to chase down the mobile suit inside the colony. Mashido's dad looks at the security cameras to see EFF soldiers closing in on their location. He doesn't have time to explain. They just need to get out of there. He releases a core pod which connects to the back of the Overon. He tells him to leave, but a gunshot goes off, and Mashido loses connection with his father. Haman makes her way towards Mashido. She refers to Overon as the White Grimary. Thane enters the colony and contacts the EFF commander, helping Raymond. He informs him that the pilot is a demon child capable of great destruction, but the commander tells Thane that he is ordered to bring him back alive. Thane rushes Overon in Wave Rider mode. The memories of Sirocco getting impaled by Zeta Gundam rush through Mashido's mind. An aura emits from the mobile suit. Mashido is finally able to take full control of Overon. He grabs Zeta 2 and sheds its Choban armor. The Choban armor gives this mobile suit the illusion that it is a white VO. But once the armor is shed, we see Overon's true form. The AGX-11 Overon is one of Paptimus Sirocco's designs that weren't built until after his death. It was designed to work alongside Titania, another one of Sirocco's designs that wasn't built until after his death. The entire unit is covered in Choban armor and gives the unit an illusion that it is the O. We will learn that this mobile suit is very versatile and can equip various armor and extra units, including a full armor version that will turn this unit into a Gundam. The core pod that Mashido's father attached to Overon's back is a small fighter that has a secondary cockpit. But most importantly, the core pod houses the Grimary system. This is a mysterious new type psychic system that gave off an aura earlier. Weapons include 60mm Vulcans, a beam shot rifle, a beam saber, and a multi-layer shield that was used by GPO-2. We will learn more about this mobile suit as we go through this manga. Thane realizes that it isn't the O, and the mobile suit just was wearing Shoban armor. Haman realizes that it is a Gundam. Mashido feels something in his head before he begins freaking out. He rushes towards Zeta 2 and punches it in Wave Rider mode, causing him to crash. Mashido then heads towards Haman in the Demeter. He is able to hold his own against her. He says that this power can only come from him. Back on the colony shelter, Lucia passes out. Thane informs Captain Hermie on the Yulong that the O is actually a Gundam. She doesn't want to pull back and needs to rescue her people first. The Yulong is hit. They use a beam dispersal screen, but it isn't too effective. Mashido chases the Demeter out of the colony, where she is waiting with funnels, ready to pounce on the Gundam. He heads into space and is surrounded by funnels. However, he is able to dodge them. Mashido rushes towards the Satellon-class ship and tears through it. Hermie and her crew is saved by the Gundam. At an unknown location, a man that looks like Paptimus Sirocco wakes up. Everyone on the Yulong is relieved to have survived the situation thanks to the Gundam. They were able to save the Salamis-class ship, but the commander of the Salamis, Roxanne Rox, says, "Fuck you for saving me, and fuck your family." Ooh, foreshadowing via insult. That's a first. Neo Zeon has currently fled from Olympus, but they know this fake Haman moves fast. Regardless of whether or not it is the real Haman, she has the skills and power that Haman once had. Thane goes to talk to the mechanics about the issue he had transforming the Wave Rider mode to mobile suit mode. The mechanic says that there is nothing wrong with the equipment after doing an analysis. He says fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, and then he just leaves. They don't know what to do, so naturally they just reformat the operating system on the mobile suit. Thane gives Hermie a pouch of ramen. Salty, chunky, and umami, and it's all in a tube. What a future. Thane says Roxanne was right. If they didn't save the Salamis, they would be with the Granada team right now. But because of her, she saved many people's lives. He brings her spirits up. Hermie tells Thane that 2 people in the cockpit of the Gundam were children, one wearing a Neo Zeon uniform and the other wearing a school uniform. Thane wants to join the investigation process, but Hermie suggests not to interrupt Commander Jesse's interrogation. He is a part of a different chain of command from the Yulong crew and acts independently. Mashido wakes up and is assaulted by the young Neo Zeon girl, while we, as the viewer, are assaulted with panty shots. She calls him Master Paptimus, but he tells her that he isn't that traitor and he died 2 years ago. She cries and dry humps his leg. Okay? That is when Raymond McInnes and Commander Jesse walk in with their team. Raymond says that he shall be the one to inherit the White Grimary. He also says that Paptimus always had a way with women. Paptimus, you dog. Haman meets with Bernardo Bato, who is there to protect her according to his master's orders. In the hangar is the Demeter next to a Zaku machinery, Bernardo Custom. The MS-11 RS Zaku machinery, Bernardo Custom, is exactly like the Zaku machinery, with the exception of 2 changes. It has a beam-resistant coating and a long-range beam rifle. Other weapons are the same and include Vulcan guns, a shield, and a beam saber. Haman slaps Bernardo for being overconfident while letting 2 of their ships sink. So the Zaku machinery I guess we saw last episode was Bernardo's. The art direction in this manga is quite atrocious. This is where manga can learn from American comics. Anytime Spider-Man makes an appearance on page, they always grab the reader's attention and go, "Hey, that's Spider-Man." Remember the famous Stan Lee quote, "Every comic is someone's first." Especially in Japan, where comics are still hyper-serialized. And you could go to a 7-Eleven and pick up a weekly shonen book and just start reading. This fake Haman is sad that she got a lot of veteran Zeon soldiers killed. She wants revenge. Back on the Yulong, Raymond says that they are going to make Mashido pilot the Gundam. He says, "Congrats, you are a part of EFF now." But Mashido is mad and doesn't want to help. They wonder how a young kid was able to take out a Satellon-class ship on his own. Certainly one doesn't acquire those skills so simply. Mashido mentions that he passed out while in the Gundam. Commander Jesse isn't buying it. He demands to know what happened to his father. Raymond tells him that he died in an unfortunate accident. Mashido tries to attack him, but Jesse restrains him with the quickness. Raymond informs Mashido that his father's real name is Dr. Mannheim, not Tonio Oaks, as he knew him. Mashido only knows his dad as a humble research engineer for mining machinery. Raymond says that he will tell Mashido all of his life's secrets. Something glows on the chest of the young Neo Zeon girl. In the hangar, the mechanics notice that Raymond brought on board the ship a giant shipping container that he got while on Olympus. Haman and her team return to Olympus territory. The Yulong still has 6 hours until the Granada team will meet up with them. One thing to note is that the Olympus is an O'Neill colony that is attached to an asteroid. Neo Zeon is heading directly to the mineral extraction loading gate. Roxanne Rox mumbles to herself, "Bitch, I told you should have let us die." Hermie sends out Thane, but it isn't going to be enough. Raymond says that they should send out the Overon and Mashido Oaks. Mashido attacks Commander Jesse while he wasn't looking. He steals the EFF soldier's gun and holds him at gunpoint. She wants to talk to the girl as she is the only person who might have real clues to his past. The girl comes out of her sedation. Mashido tells her to come with him and they escape. She says no and her chest glows bright. The container begins shaking. She passes out. Even if Mashido wanted to take her, she would die. She has a serious injury and needs medical attention. Jesse takes the gun back. He contacts Hermie and informs her that Mashido was resisting and he cannot in good conscience allow him to pilot the Gundam. Jesse was informed by Commodore Kristoff that they must treat Mashido as though he is Paptimus Sirocco. I guess Commodore Kristoff is the new Jamatov Haman? Mashido is dangerous. They need more help. Haman attacks the mines as a warning shot and sends a message to the colony. They are harboring a ship currently, so the Yulong was inside the colony and not outside. I have no sense of space in this manga. Give me more establishing shots. She threatens to destroy the colony if they don't leave. The colony sends the ship a message urging them to leave. Against Roxanne's complaining, Hermie decides to evacuate from the colony. She plans on using the booster attachment on Zeta 2. Roxanne may have been right, but their mission was to capture the person codenamed Shamal and bring him to Granada. They may not be able to get out, but Thane could take Mashido in the new booster to meet up with the Granada team heading their way. The BST helps Zeta 2 accelerate faster and travel greater distances. The mechanics haven't tested the booster, but no one on the ship seems to care about the mechanics' opinions. Poor guys. Hermie allows anyone who wishes to not take part in this operation to disembark. Of course, all of the crew stays. Thane talks to a member of the Hound team, which is a team of Nimmo pilots. Thane tells him not to get cocky and don't get yourself killed. Oh, he's totally gonna die, isn't he? Jesse throws Mashido into the cockpit of Zeta 2. He tells him to be careful of him and to definitely, absolutely, certainly not cut his restraints until he gets to Granada. Thane asks Mashido why he wants to fight. He tells him that he essentially wants to protect Lucia. Thane doesn't listen and cuts his restraints and tells Hermie that they need to use him. Ultimately, they let Mashido decide. He decides to get into the Overon and fight. Thane launches and uses the booster to pass through the Zaku machineries. As Zeta 2 gets close to the Neo-Zeon ship, the Reindra, or the Raindra? Whatever, it's an Indra. Ernardo snipes him and gets a direct hit. The Yulong loses contact with Thane. Mashido preps for launch as the Yulong exits the colony. Jesse gives him a normal suit that they found in his father's lab. They also give him the item that Raymond brought over. It happens to be the multi-layer shield. This is just like GPO2's shield, at least on the outside layer. And yes, there are more layers. More on that soon. It also has heat scissors and a megaparticle cannon. Mashido takes off, but right as he launches, Ernardo snipes the catapult. However, Overon is able to tank the beam blast thanks to the multi-layer shield. He is able to successfully launch. He pushes towards the Zaku machineries. He is a little heavy on the trigger and Thane tells him to lay off a little. He feels like there is a lag or something. It isn't working the same as last time. 4 mobile suits approach the Yulong. It is Haman and the Demeter. Raymond busts into the med bay, where the Neo-Zeon girl is passed out. He grabs her and shakes her, saying, "Why isn't the Gundam working like it did last time?" He shakes her harder. Others force him to stop. Someone gets shot down. That is the guy from earlier who foreshadowed his death. Ernardo rushes the Gundam. He calls him an amateur and proceeds to punch him to knock out Mashido. He intends on taking him back to Neo-Zeon. The mayor of Olympus has no choice but to give in to Neo-Zeon's demands. This also happens to be Lucia's father. She calls, asking him to help her find Mashido, but he can't be bothered at the moment. Ernardo grabs the Overon as Mashido is knocked out. While passed out, he sees a girl guarding the Overon. Mashido asks what she wants with Sirocco. He is their savior that will free them from gravity. Mashido says, "Screw all that. I'm going to use the Overon, and I'm going to save you as well, Dream Lady." Neo-Zeon is trying to take the Gundam when Mashido reactivates it and uses his shield high mega cannon. He shoots a giant hole through the Satellon-class ship. Raymond is excited by the power of the Gundam. The ship's hangar and starboard side is inoperable. Ernardo tells Overon. He thinks the pilot is an amateur. The Zaku machinery takes aim, but the Gundam shoots his gun before he can make a move. Who's the amateur now? He goes in for a melee attack. Ernardo slices through the shield, but the shield has its own armor. Bro, I keep armor under my armor. He begins tearing the Zaku apart. Ernardo calls him Paptimus. He yells his name, frustrated that everyone calls him Sirocco. The Gundam destroys the Zaku machinery. The Yulong can't hold out much longer. Haman and the Demeter comes in to take it down when the Overon comes to save the day. The Gundam and Demeter fight. She unleashes her funnels. They go full Grievous with beam sabers. Mashido says screw it and aims his high mega cannon with no care of the colony right behind Haman, but his shield is destroyed. It is Thane and Zeta 2. Mashido says, "I don't know, man. That seemed like a tactically sound move if you ask me. The Demeter attacks both of them. Raymond is mad that Zeta is getting in the way of this fight. That is when Fiorina wakes up. Fiorina? Sometimes I just can't with these names, man. She connects to Mashido via a Newtype connection and tells him that he failed her and he lost his purpose. She asks what he desires, and in that moment, he thinks of Lucia. He breaks out of his metaphorical chains and realizes, oh snap, I almost murdered 10 million people. Whoopsies. The Yulong moves in, and Haman saves Leonardo and pulls back to their ship. Mashido proclaims they will meet again. Haman is running some Newtype tests when the scientists gossip about the real Haman potentially dying 6 months ago. They also learn of Okusutonio's death, aka Mannheim, aka Mashido's dad. Thane is playing shogi when Lint Nausicaa comes into the hangar and talks some smack. Roxanne and Captain Hermie meets with Commander Kristoff. He is promoting her and taking her off the Yulong. Roxanne will assume command. He is super passive-aggressive about it and suggests that she settle down with a man. Kristoff is Hermie's dad as well. I don't know if I mentioned that. They seem to be hiding something regarding Mashido. Raymond wants to take Mashido with him. He doesn't really trust Raymond, but he decides to go with him as he wants to know who he truly is. Meanwhile, Elise tries to take Mashido's innocence, thinking he is Paptimus. Fiorina walks in on the two for maximum comedy. Underground, beneath Granada, Raymond and Commander Kristoff look up at the remains of the O. It still has the tip of the core fighter in its chest. Raymond wants to be in charge of resurrecting the king. Their day will soon come. Nothing will come between this friendship where we both want the same thing. On the Yulong, Leonardo is sneaking around the hangar. Roxanne tells the crew of the situation. Fiorina says that she is attracted to Mashido because of his Sirocco aura. Mashido will take what he could get. She gets a feeling of discomfort and realizes someone is in the Overon. It is Elise. Alize? These names are gonna break me. It's the girl who tried to touch Mashido. She's doing Anaheim Electronics' bidding. She kissed and groped him so she could collect his DNA, and is trying to put a backdoor in the Gundam. Lint catches her and tells her to get out, but not before telling her that they are going to make Mashido pilot it. Leonardo sneaks around the ship. He watches as the crew brings out Mashido in a straitjacket. The commander knows that Fiorina is involved with the clan to develop the Grimary, which is what everyone is calling the Overon. She says that only Paptimus can control the Gundam. They are going to shock Mashido's true memories out of him. Suddenly, the power goes out. A mobile suit casts a silhouette on Raymond, who says the commander is no longer needed. Oh no, this friendship backfired! Elise is in a mobile suit. They think it is a gas plant, but this is actually the Fafner. The MSZ-009H Fafner is a prototype transformable mobile suit designed to look like the gas plant, as it replicates its shield binder and has Choban armor. This also uses the Grimary system like the Overon and the Demeter. This specifically uses the blue Grimary Quasi-Psychomu. This unit also has the Fafner system, which enhances Newtype senses, but it makes the pilot prone to aggression. The Choban armor is purged when this is activated, revealing a Gundam head. Weapons include a variant of the Double Zeta's high mega cannon, a beam cannon, missile launchers, a movable shield which also holds a beam rifle, and a beam saber. The commander laughs at Raymond as he doesn't think that they can make it out of Granada alive. The Commodore sends out Nemo Rhymes. The MSA-003R Nemo Rhymes is an enhanced version of the Nemo, which has a similar backpack used on the Mark II. There are additional thrusters in the legs and an extra sensor in the head. 2 propellant tanks can be added as well. Weapons include 60mm Vulcans, 2 beam sabers now in the backpack, a heat dagger, the BOA BRS-85C2 beam rifle, and a shield. Roxanne can feel tremors all the way over on the Yulong. Thane wants to go to help out, but she tells him to stand down and follow orders. Mashido hops out of the way while chaos ensues. Lint thought that he and Elise were friends. Her Fafner smashes the Nemo's face in the ground. Raymond tells Mashido to come with him. He tells him to get in the Gundam. Hermie is almost crushed by a mobile suit arm, but is saved by Leonardo. Leonardo tries to get into the Gundam, but it shuts him out and moves on its own. The Gundam reaches out to Mashido. Hermie tells him to not be a part of this violence. The Fafner tries to attack Hermie, but Thane and Zeta 2 comes in to support. However, his mobile suit is currently unarmed. You idiot! He begins punching Fafner. Lint throws Thane a beam saber. Mashido gets into the Gundam and tells Elise and Raymond to leave. He's going to stay. Suddenly, Fiorina collapses, and so too does the Gundam. Alize begins fighting Thane. She says she wants to spank his butt as he has been naughty. Bad timing on this erection. Mashido hears a voice speak that mentions Camille having a similar power. She is referring to the Grimary system. The Overon, Demeter, and Fafner all have the Grimary system, which can create the Eldridge effect. In Zeta Gundam, this was when the Zeta disabled the O's movement during their final battle, a Newtype paralysis of the sorts. Who knew there was a name for this? Under Granada, the O moves. Commodore Kristoff knows of this power. That is the doing of Mannheim, Mashido's dad, and the clan. But he wants this power for himself. Overon is able to move again. Elise is giving out brainwaves she has never emitted before. This is because she is hearing the voices as well. On her monitor is the text MSZ-009H2 Hedgehog. This was the mobile suit that Fafner was developed from and is piloted by Thane. This is shown in Walpurgis Eve, which we will eventually cover. The Fafner Chobon armor purges and activates the Fafnir system. Commodore Kristoff also refers to the Fafnir system as Hedgehog 3. The white Grimary and the blue Grimary fight. Thane's mobile suit can't move due to the Grimary system. While fighting, Mashido is also wandering through his Newtype mind palace. A masked man asks him if he knows who he is. He calls him Shamal and says that they are the same. That is what Raymond called him when they first met. Hermie wants to know what Kristoff knows about the Grimary system. He tries to take his daughter into custody when Earnardo busts in using a Gym 2. He seems to be looking for Fiorina, who he calls the witch that guards the white Grimary. Meanwhile, Haman and her team gets word of infighting happening amongst the Aeug. She launches with her team in her Demeter. One man is gloating about having an easy scouting mission when Haman flies by and ends his and his entire ship's life. That's what you get for gloating. Mashido sees a figure in front of the Gundam. We flash back to Mashido's dad, Mannheim, who is working on the Overon. A man named Captain Hyphen tells him to be careful. Sirocco is amazed by the O and calls it a masterpiece. He tells Mannheim that he needs help on a new mobile suit that he is working on called the Overon. Sirocco has no intention of the war continuing, so Mannheim wonders why this new mobile suit. He says that post-war, the women are going to be the ones that rebuild. Throughout this, he keeps mentioning Ambrosia. We will learn that this is codename for a secret weapon. Ambrosia is designed in case Sirocco is killed. At that moment, Sirocco is meeting Haman. We then cut to Operation Maelstrom. The colony laser is fired. They will have to temporarily retreat. Mannheim watches as Camille penetrates the O with his Zeta Gundam. The Jupitrus is going down. Mannheim has to ensure Ambrosia survives. Earnardo takes Fiorina. Hermie realizes it is her brother. Back in the past, the ship is going down as Mannheim gets into Ambrosia and detaches it from the Jupitrus. Inside are dozens of pods full of clones. They all look like Mashido. Mannheim says, "Forgive me, Shamal." We briefly touched on this in our coverage of Crossbone Ghost, but Mariaism, preached by Maria Pure Armonia in Gundam Victory, is a belief that women should be the foundation of society. Mariaism originally evolved from Sirocco's beliefs that we are seeing here in the UC-80s. Remember, he mentioned that women will rebuild the world after the war. Maria used this to build up the Sidecheckers, which powered Angel Halo. Paptimus seems to be 80 years ahead of the game, as he has cloned Mashido's, controlling his Ambrosia project. In the present, the mysterious man in Mashido's Newtype mind palace is trying to tell him the truth of his past, but he doesn't believe it. The voices are also getting to Elise. Thane gets into the Overon to find that Mashido is also panicking from the voices. Raymond is informed that Neo Zeon has infiltrated the ship and killed the Commodore. This is good news for him. That's the second casual off-screen death in a manga this week. Earnardo meets with Haman with Fiorina as a prisoner. Haman moves in to attack Granada. Hermie cries for her father, or maybe just how messed up the entire situation is. Captain Hermie looks at her father's body bag, who was just one of the casualties. Thane and Lint wonder what's going to happen to this base. Mashido was thrown in the brig. He thinks about Raymond telling him the truth of his past. Mashido wonders if his memories are connected to the new type visions he is getting. Mashido tells Hermie about Ambrosia, but there's no official records about what he is talking about. The higher-ups give Hermie Kristoff's current mission to search for remnants of the old Jupitrus. They also plan on giving the Overon to Anaheim Electronics. This mission is off record. They also wonder what Haman wants with Fiorina. Currently, the Aeug and the Federation are trying to work together, but Fedi bureaucracy makes the Fedis unbearable to work with. Remember, while these talks are going down, a group of children are slowly taking down Neo Zeon on their own. The Yulong receives 4 big containers. The captain talks to Mashido. She says that she can't protect him now that her father is dead, and she tells him to get into the Gundam. Shinji, you bitch. Sorry, that came out of nowhere. On the ship, the Flower Garden is home to PMC Wellcast. Raymond hired a private military. They soon spot the Yulong on their radars and prepare for launch. Raymond reminds Elise of her freakout from last episode and tells her not to get too cocky. He calls her by her real name, Ostol. Elise tells him not to call her that, and she launches. What is up with this lady with Raymond? I want whatever she's on. Mashido is learning to help around the hangar. Thane yells at him and tells him to get some rest and learn of the importance of downtime. He just wants to learn so he could be a better pilot for the Overon. Roxana thinks Captain Hermie is crazy taking on this mission, until they find out the truth behind Mashido's past They aren't giving him to anyone. Neozeon, Anaheim, and Raymond all want him for some reason. Roxana thinks that the captain is a danger to the Earth sphere. She will accept this hypocritical mission of using a kid to fight their battles. But the moment she finds something suspicious, she won't hesitate to take down the Yulong. Hermie thinks to herself, don't worry, if the time comes, she will take him out first. The Yulong detects a mobile suit. They can't cast out their IFF codes as they are acting as pirates on this mission. Thane launches in the Zeta 2 and Mashido in the Overon. They make contact. It is Fafner. Thane moves in while Mashido tries to flank. Mashido can sense something targeting Thane and they dodge the attack. More mobile suits approach. They are Jim Graham's. There's currently no data on this mobile suit, but they're using some sort of G parts as a core booster. Elise attacks Mashido when he is left alone. The Overon tries to flee, but the Fafner shoots off one of the Gundam's boosters. Jims move in, but Elise takes them all out with beam cannons. Another mobile suit approaches the Yulong. It is a Masala Glashton. The PMX OOG Masala Glashton was developed by Paptimus Sirocco and built as a support vehicle for the Overon. Even though it looks like a Masala, it shares none of its parts. Like the Fafner, it's a Mega Rider only disguised as a Masala. The nose cone comes off and the Overon mounts it in what is called the second form. There is also a third form which utilizes the Overon's backpack system. Weapons include a high mega cannon and 2 mega particle cannons. Sirocco stole a bunch of Federation designs and hid them under PMX armor. Having the Mega Rider tech a year and a half before it debuted, this sneaky bro was playing 4D chess. The pilot calls Mashido awkward. He awakens the Gundam by removing the Shoban armor. It jumps on top of the Masala and rides it like a Mega Rider. He approaches Elise and fires. The Yulong tries to identify the mobile suit. The output of the Glashton doesn't drop. What is that generator made out of, GN particles? Mashido shoots at Elise. She gets furious and activates the Fafnir system. Then she powers up her high mega cannon in her head. Mashido takes aim and tries to shoot the high mega cannon. The Grimary system is activated. Mashido looks up and says, is that a Newtype ghost colony about to fall on my face? In his Newtype mind palace, he sees Elise's memories. Her mother was crushed by rubble. Later, a lady tells her she can make her happy. They call her Project Oster and begin testing her limits. Later, she finds herself in the hands of Mashido's dad, Mannheim. He tells her she is safe in the hands of Sirocco. His Newtype aura talks to Elise, telling her she doesn't have to fight anyone. She says that Sirocco just used women as a tool for his needs, and that Newtype talk won't work on her anymore. Hermie tells him to kill her, but he doesn't want to. He hesitates. Rather than shoot, Mashido rushes in and kicks the Fafnir. He then gets out of his cockpit. Elise calls him stupid before she is able to fire the high mega cannon. The Grimary system locks up the Fafnir. It does something to cause the charged Minovsky particles to not bind, and it destroys the mobile suit from the inside. She ejects, but Mashido is able to save her. She still thinks he is stupid for doing that. 2 weeks earlier, Neozeon is searching a debris field and finds a pilot in a wrecked ship. It is Firina. They find a door and make her open it. Inside is Overon. They get her to turn on the Gundam. When it does, it shows the location of Sirocco being at Side 2 Olympus colony. She kicks out her captor and takes off in the Overon. In the present, she wakes up on the Satellon-class ship. She is in the presence of Haman Karn. Firina says that Sirocco hasn't awakened yet. Firina seems to be the key to the Overon due to her talisman. Sirocco was sneaky and had plans for everything. Bernardo says that everything is going to the real Haman's plan. They need to find the coordinates to Ambrosia, but Firina won't give them up so easily. They can't use intimidation tactics with her, and they must treat Firina as a guest. Fake Haman is going to wait for the clan to make their first move. They have time on their side. Firina tells Bernardo that the succession has begun. Not Haman nor Sirocco can stop what is about to come. Lint yells and chokes Mashido for bringing Elise on board. Thane tells him to let him go. They take her to the brig. The Overon's thrusters need to be replaced. Mashido is spacing out in the cockpit still. In the brig, Elise says that she doesn't know if Mashido is Sirocco or not. But regardless, she has to kill him. Federica talks to Elise. She wants to know if they have her Fafner. They didn't end up saving her mobile suit. Raymond will most likely come to get it, as he was the one who created the Grimary system. Hermie thinks Grimary? Like those magic fairy stories. Elise says that Mannheim hid the secrets of the Grimary within the system itself. Even she is trying to figure out this part. On the bridge, they spot something approaching. It is most likely Raymond and the PMC, just as Elise said. In the hangar, Mashido is getting into the Gundam without authorization, though it isn't showing his face, so something is off. He activates Overon and spooges up Jacko the mechanic with bird lime. That's a lot of spooge. Mashido says goodbye to Thane. He looks different, as though he was a sleeper agent who just activated. The Zeta 2 is getting a new booster added to the unit. They wonder what happened to Mashido. Thane thinks it's something else. Jacko the mechanic is in the medbay because he got caught up in the decompression process. Thane heads out in his new Zeta 2 BST spec. There isn't any data on the MSZ-008V Zeta 2 Type V high BST specification, but we can assume it provides extra propulsion in its legs. It also has extra missile pods. Hermie talks to the higher-ups. They intend to follow Sirocco to this Ambrosia location. That is their best bet to find Mashido. The Overon is approaching the PMC when Thane catches up to him. He says he is here to help, but Mashido calls him foolish. Thane unleashes a missile barrage. Mashido blocks, but they are smoke missiles. He tries to get a decoy before grabbing onto Overon. The Zeta's thrusters are far superior to Overon, and he is going to drag him back to the Yulong. He tells them this is a mistake. Suddenly, the Glashton comes in and attaches to the Overon. This is the third form. The AGX-11 Overon plus PMX Triple G Masala Glashton third form attaches the Glashton as the Overon's backpack. This adds 2 extra sub-arms. It is used only when the Grimary mode is activated and functions as an additional power source to the Gundam. The Overon uses the giant sub-arms to try to crush the boosters and slow down the unit. He rips through half of Zeta 2 and tells him to give up before he kills him. But Thane never gives up. Mashido says, "You fool, I have sub-arms in my legs." We flash back to the past. It is post-Operation Maelstrom, and Commodore Kristoff is trying to find access. They are helping out the Federation. With Thane and Lint is Ernardo. He wonders where the AU goes from here. It is most likely with the Federation, but this isn't what Ernardo signed up for. They head out in Nemos. Ernardo is using a Nemo sniper loadout. They take part in the colony laser incident. The 3 get a signal flare to withdraw. Suddenly, the colony laser goes off, nearly wiping them out. Ernardo says, "Screw this, I'm out of here to join Axis." He signed up with the AU to be anti-Federation. He doesn't want to help them. Like many, he is guided by their leader, Shar Aznable. This is all about Spacenoids for him. Ernardo flees. Back in the present, the battle continues. Thane says that he won't let Mashido go. Inside of his mind palace, Mashido is once again shackled by his metaphorical chains. Mashido in his mind palace tells Overon to stop. Fiorina's talisman glows. A cloaked man in Mashido's mind says he is Shamal. He reveals that he looks like Mashido. He tells Mashido he is the real you. His body belongs to Sirocco, and he will soon have it back. The man puts his fingers in his mouth and activates the sleeper agent inside of him. A light emits from Overon. Even the Yulong can see it. Captain Hermie hesitates. She doesn't know what she should do next. The Overon instantly takes out some of the PMC mobile suits and rushes their well-cast ship to the flower garden. He looks at the bridge and asks for Raymond. Raymond realizes this isn't Mashido. This is his king. He says he is no king, but he does need Raymond's help. They find debris from Zeta 2. Hermie can't hear the crew. She thinks back to her brother, who says he will always be by her side. The flower garden allows Mashido to dock. Raymond calls him the second coming of their messiah. He says he is here to serve him, but Mashido is more concerned with learning who the Glashton pilot is. A girl pops out of the cockpit. Raymond thinks it is Fiorina, but it isn't her. Mashido takes off his glasses and says that this is Concetta Fili, Fiorina's sister. He wants to get rid of the AUG that killed him before they bring peace to the Earth sphere. The crew is waiting for Hermie to give them an order. Do they chase down the Overon, or do they search for Thane? She finally gets her voice back and tells the crew to chase down the PMCs. She hopes that Thane can forgive him. Also, both Hermie and Thane are captains. I hate it when there are 2 captains on a ship. I know Thane is a squad captain, but still. The well-cast PMC is now working for Shamal, which is what I will call Mashido when he takes off his glasses. They head towards Ambrosia. Shamal activates Orpheus, the Psycho Flare. The asteroid shakes. Hermie has Elise with her, and the crew's confused. They are going to use her as a soldier instead of a prisoner. She wants her to sneak aboard the enemy ship and retrieve Fafner, pirate style. The crew thinks Hermie has gone insane. Roxana thinks she is leading them towards doom. The clan members and the PMC wonder what this giant weapon is. It turns out it is a giant fusion reactor. The Psychoflare Orpheus was transported from the Jupiter sphere in UC-0084 and was handed over to the clan in UC-0088. This plan was created by Sirocco, but it didn't reach the Earth sphere until after his death. This has a giant megaparticle beam weapon called the Psychoflare. Anyone close by becomes docile and lucid. It also has autonomous fighters to protect it. In the past, we already made strong connections between Mariaism and Sirocco, and this just solidifies it. This is Angel Halo by another name. The Psychoflare fires. Everyone watches on, including Ernardo holding an escape pod. Shamal says there is no creation without destruction. Meanwhile, Fiorina can sense her sister, Conchetta. Fiorina believes that Renato and Hermie are the knights that can take down the king. Many gaze at Haman and are confused, considering she was declared dead. They are overlooking their new unit, the Delphinium. The TRX-007 Delphinium is a copy of the Dendrobium made by the clan. This is supposed to function as a giant exosuit for the core mobile suit. There is no designation between the core mobile suit and the exo unit, like the Dendrobium and GPO-3. The mobile armor form looks like Dendrobium, but the mobile suit form looks like Psycho Gundam. Its main weapon is a twin megaparticle cannon and an eye field in the left arm. Other weapons include Vulcan guns and large cluster missiles. This was abandoned and considered a poor imitation as Anaheim Electronics controlled the supply chain. This thing takes a lot of G's, and they need a pilot who can handle this. The Yulong goes combat ready. Their mobile suit team heads out with their goal of stealing the Fafner. They call this Operation Hornet Sting. Shamal fires the Psycho Flare, taking out some of the Yulong's Nemos. Someone tries to snipe the Overon, but he is able to dodge. The sniper was Bernardo and his Zaku machinery. He is amazed he sensed his attack. Sniping isn't going to work on him. The Yulong spots Bernardo. It must mean that Haman is close by. Hermie reminds us that Bernardo is her brother. Thank you, because I completely forgot about that plot point. Major Jesse informs the captain that Elise is nowhere to be found. They go to find her. Elise refuses to be a pawn in all of this. All of a sudden, she senses something. A barrage of cluster missiles attack the Psycho Flare. It happens to be the Delphinium. The person they got to pilot this happens to be Thane. Shamal laughs and says that this is such an outdated machine. He fires off his Psycho Flare once again, but the Delphinium can take it with its eye field. It transforms into mobile suit form. Roxana can get an ID on the Delphinium. Shamal continuously calls Thane an old type. The Delphinium rushes in. Shamal fires the Psycho Flare once again. The Delphinium is able to dodge this time. Remember the Dendrobium, the Gundam development project, and everything that happened in 0083 was swept under the rug and barely anyone knows about it. This happens to be created by a group that goes by storm. They broke off from Anaheim Electronics. However, Axis returning changed everything. Fiorina tells Haman that the clan was able to resurrect Dendrobium and Psycho Gundam tech with modern technology. She thinks that the Overon might have an advantage in this situation over Thane simply because of the Grimary system. Roxana says to take this opportunity to move in. I'm getting Ramius and Badriel vibes from these two. Delphinium transfers back into mobile armor form. Hermie was able to find Elise. Thane stops the Delphinium instantly, taking G's to the face. This allows the enemy to move ahead, allowing him to get a target. Hermie could tell that the pilot of the Delphinium is Thane. The Yulong uses the shadow of the Psycho Flare to hide their presence until the very last moment. Bernardo is out of time, but still takes time to note that his sister is growing. We flash back to Bernardo finding the remains of Zeta 2. Thane wakes up, says that they must find Mashido, and then passes out once again. They get him to an infirmary. Bernardo wants to be the pilot of the Delphinium, but it puts great strain on the body, and Haman still needs him. Thane volunteers to pilot this. He tells Haman that Bernardo is someone from a Federation military family, and his sister is the captain of the Yulong. Bernardo is looking all glimmy Toto open here. He tells Thane to be careful out there. The G's are going to be brutal on his body. Back in the present, Thane curses the doctors for not giving stronger pain meds. Shamal commends his skills, even though he is an old type. The Overon Glashton lashes on to the Delphinium. As the two fight, Thane hears Mashido's voice telling him not to do it. Shamal says, "Fear my hidden subarms with beam sabers." Thane breaks free of the Delphinium's grip. He says not to underestimate an old type. Shamal can sense someone helping Thane. It's Mashido trapped inside his mind palace. He wonders why a fake personality is holding him back. The Overon drops their rifle, but Shamal uses that weapon like a wired bit and fires towards the Yulong. They are too slow to evade, but Bernardo does a Mulaflaga and deflects the beam, destroying his mobile suit. Bernardo's Space Ghost tells Hermie that she has to find her own path now. We flash to the past, where Bernardo joins Haman's ranks. She knows he was formerly an AUG member. All he wants is freedom for Spacenoids. Haman tells him to be by her side. Currently, we see Kara, Ilya, Yuri Hassler, even Professor X is there. He says he will fight even if it costs him his life. In the present, Haman is infuriated and gets into the Demeter. Raymond wants to buy time for Shamal, but tear gas floods the bridge. It is Major Jesse's team. Elise gets into the Fafner. However, when she gets in, she is met with Conchetta, who points a gun at her. She asks if they have a box on their ship that they can't open. It contains what she calls Zero. They wonder if it could be used to fight against Overon, but Conchetta says only her and her sister can open it up, which means they have to take her with them. Neo-Zeon calls for a temporary truce with the Aeug. Hermie agrees and decides to work together with the Demeter. They should only focus on the Overon. The Grimary system stops Delphinium in his tracks. That is when the Demeter and its funnels attack. Haman says, "I will have you, or I will kill you." Conchetta's talisman glows as she approaches the box. Fiorina is with her, though she is just a Force ghost. The two open up the box to reveal a Masala that is glowing. Conchetta gets into the mobile suit. The Fafner interrupts Shamal and Haman. She doesn't like Shamal and wishes Mashido would come back. The Demeter and Fafner work together to take down the Overon, but Shamal activates the Grimary system. The Grimary system makes the Yulong's instruments malfunction. The Masala launches. The mobile suits are helpless to the Grimary system, but the Masala comes rushing in. That is when Shamal hears the voices of the women from when he was Sirocco. They say that he shouldn't live. He wonders if this is Rekkawa or perhaps Sarah. It is like that terrible Star Wars movie, but instead of the collective Sith souls, it's just all the Newtype Zeta bitches. Overon is also affected by the Eldridge effect and can't move. The Masala rushes in and just like old times, she penetrates Shamal and Overon. Shamal makes Sirocco face. Classic Sirocco. Shamal can't move his mobile suit nor his body. Mashido is trying to stop him from killing anyone else, even if it means suicide. He has no home to go to anyways. This is what caused Shamal to freeze and allow Conchetta to penetrate the Overon. Nice. Hermie is sad that she couldn't do anything to protect Mashido. Shamal says, "How dare you do this to me twice?" He is still alive and activates the second stage of the Psycho Flare. Time for another flashback. Hermie is ordered by Kristoff to head to Olympus and take out Shamal with the help of Major Jesse. She recognizes that her father is completely using her at this point. She hacks into the general's files to see what he is hiding and stumbles onto something called Walpurgis. It contains classified info regarding the Grip's war. General Kristoff also is spying on Camille. She listens to audio files from Zeta's black box. Camille is talking to a girl named Sarah. She died a month earlier and was close to Sirocco. He was talking to a Newtype ghost. She's starting to believe in whatever this phenomenon is. Everyone starts getting a weird feeling. The Psychoflare asteroid breaks apart, revealing its true form. While Jesse's men are taking Raymond and the PMC into custody, they start becoming lucid. He thinks it is nitrogen poisoning, but Raymond has seen it before, and they too will be under its spell soon. This is the power of the Psychoflare, designed by Sirocco to end wars. Time for another flashback. Raymond is informed that they are scrapping the Overon project. Now that Sirocco is dead, the Federation definitely will not let this project continue. Raymond is certain that Grimary and the Eldridge system will outperform the biosensor. His boss tells him to get out of here and start over. Granada is full of poor veterans just looking to get by. One veteran asks Raymond for money. He gives him money, but the beggar is disappointed in how little it is. Raymond tells him to stop complaining and calls him a dog. The man pulls a gun and tells Raymond to give him his money. He runs away when the beggar is distracted by an old lady. The man chases Raymond and crosses the road without looking. He is hit by a truck. Homeboy survived the war only to die over something petty. This is happening everywhere and finds that mankind is suffocating. He takes the beggar's gun. Raymond's lady friend, whose name is Haman, visits him at work. They happen to stumble onto an affidavit of Mannheim. He is on record as describing a light leaving the O when Sirocco died. Feelings and thought can be shared between new types. If that is the case, Sirocco can share his peace of mind onto the world. Through force, of course. This is what the Grimary system is. It is a gospel designed to resurrect Sirocco. Raymond understands that he will be resurrected one day. He kills his boss and makes a deal with Kristoff regarding funding of the Grimary project. He's looking at a picture of Mashido. In the present, the soldier holding Raymond captive becomes lucid from the Psychoflare. Conchetta has succumbed to the Psychoflare as well. The battlefield is growing calm. Fiorina is slapped out of her new type spell by cloaked men who want her to go with him. They say it is Master's orders. They take her to a screen where she talks to another cloaked man who says he will be resurrected. Fiorina thinks this isn't Sirocco, but it isn't her decision to decide. The man reveals himself to be Hyphen. Hyphen was the commander of the Jupitrus and one of Sirocco's underlings in Zeta. We are flashing back again. Mannheim is escaping with the White Grimary before the project can be complete. He says that the man named Hyphon will turn Sirocco into an evil spirit. They won't let Hyphon or Shamal get their hands on this tech. Fiorina tries to stop him and says he has lost sight of the clan's goals. He says when the time comes, the talisman will lead her to the throne. He takes off with the mobile suit. Since Sirocco created the Psycho Flare before dying, Haifan believes this is very much his will. Sirocco haunts Fire-Rina. She calls out to Mashido. Meanwhile, Mashido is bleeding out in space. Bleeding out in space is better than bleeding out in the snow. Mashido is dead. However, inside Overon's pod happens to be another clone of Shamal. Well, that's convenient. He wakes up with Mashido's mind. He is amazed to be alive. A message left by Mannheim plays in the Overon's core pod system. He tells him that he is a pod baby, even though he has learned this by now. This is also why he has dreams of dying in the past, because it actually happened. Mashido finds his glasses case with the message, be what you want to be, do what you want to do. His dad asks him what he wants to be. He remembers his dad asking this in the past, and he said that he wanted to stop wars. He now has a purpose and thanks his dad. He puts on his glasses. Besides reminding us that this is Mashido, those glasses don't have any purpose. He flies towards the Psycho Flare, where it unleashes its manned fighters. Mashido fights against the remote fighters, while a Newtype ghost calls him weak. He uses the Grimary system to stop some of the fighters. The voice says that Mannheim created a demon, referring to Mashido. The Psycho Flare begins glowing. Its reach is increasing, and soon everyone will become docile. Fire-Rina's talisman glows before she is knocked out by Haifan. He was in the same room? That looked like they were Skyping in earlier. You can't fool me. Also, it's a weird shot because it looks like Haifan shoots her, but I think he just pistol whips her. Mashido calls out to Overon like it's Super Sentai. Out of the other box on the Yulong, a mobile suit activates and bursts through the hull of the Alexandria-class ship. It happens to be the Ampersand Gundam, the FA0016NG. Full Armor Overon, also known as Ampersand Gundam, is a variant of the second Overon unit. This is considered a Gundam-style version of the O. Mannheim fled the clan with Overon and gave the Grimary system to Anaheim Electronics in exchange for protection. It used parts from the full armor Hyakushiki because of its rushed completion. This was designed in secret to combat the clan. Like the Overon, this too has a core pod system where the Grimary is stored. It also has sub-arms to hold its mini beam sabers. Other weapons include Vulcan guns, a twin missile pod, beam cannons, a high mega cannon in the chest, and the long mega buster. It also has an eye field. A voice says that this isn't a unit that he created. We flash back to Mannheim working on this unit. This is a failsafe if the clan ever comes after him. His core pod attaches to the new Overon. Ampersand Gundam attacks the Psycho Flare. We are revealed who the voice is that is speaking. It's just another Shamal clone. The Psycho Flare fires at the Gundam, but Mashido is able to tank it with his eye field. The Psycho Flare powers up another attack. The Ampersand Gundam fires its high mega cannon first. The two fire at one another. Fire-Rina talks to Mashido. She tells him that the Overon can respond to people's feelings and can commune with the dead. The ghosts of the past lend him their strength, and his beam blast overpowers the Psycho Flare. Shamal tries to stop Mashido. He tells himself that people can't be saved. They just must be. Shamal then sees Sarah. She has been waiting for him for some time. The Overon takes down the Psycho Flare. Everyone comes to their senses. Many have died again because of Mashido. Fire-Rina says the clan will take responsibility for all of this and thanks him. Mashido will head to the Yulong and accept any punishment. He is Shamal, and it will be hard to convince them that it was a different person in his body. Fire-Rina says that she won't be able to stay by his side. Her body is still with Haifan. She says if she meets Mashido in real life again, she wants him to kill her. Mashido calls her the nickname Fee, so I guess I've been actually saying it wrong and her name is Fie-Rina. Haifan makes his way towards Jupiter. He wants to chase after her, but on the radar, Neo-Zeon is approaching. That is when Conchetta tells him to go after Fie-Rina. She will distract Haman and the Demeter. Conchetta transforms the Masala into mobile suit form. Overon chases down Fie-Rina. The Yulong chases Mashido. Haifan's Jupiterus-class ship won't be able to reach top speeds before the Overon can make contact. He sacrifices his mobile suit pilots who won't be able to catch back up with the ship. Their squad consists of Bolanok Samans, Gafleas, and Hambrabis. Mashido engages with the clan's mobile suits. They think the Overon is a beast. Conchetta blinds Haman, allowing her to take out some of the Demeter's bits. Elise comes in to defend the Yulong and the Fafner. Thane is also assisting the Yulong. I don't even know what side you're supposed to be on at this point. Haman wants to get her hands on the Psycho Flare to help Neo-Zeon. She talks to her sister out loud, which is the first clue as to who she is. The Yulong is critically damaged. Hermie tells her men to abandon ship. She stays behind, however, as she thinks she may know who Haman is. Mashido tells Haifan to give him Fie-Rina. He unleashes the Titania 2. The PMX 0042 Titania 2 is a prototype Newtype mobile suit created by the clan. This mobile suit was started to continue the will of Sirocco. The original Titania was Sirocco's 5th mobile suit, which appeared in G Generations. The Titania 2 adds a mobile armor form. This is originally powered by Fie-Rina's talisman, but the mobile suit will later absorb her. Weapons include Vulcan guns, funnels, a high-powered beam cannon, a long beam rifle, the Titania 2 shield, which evolved from the Gyan, and 6 beam sabers. The Titania charges Overon, causing it to crash into the bridge of the Jupiterus. Fie-Rina drifts out into space. Hermie finds the Demeter abandoned. She spacewalks over to Ambrosia. There she finds a dead Shamal clone that is crystallizing. Haman points a gun at her. She tells Hermie of the Grimary. Hermie just thinks it is a biosensor, no different than any Psychomu system. But Sirocco approached it differently. First, he made hundreds of microprocessors that communicated with one another. Haman refers to this as tiny Psychomu cells. This can be implanted into one's body, like in Mashido's case, or connected to an object, like Fiorina's talisman. Sirocco was moving towards human-machine hybrids. Dude was even getting close to Psycho frames before Char. Haman realizes this is Leonardo's sister. They begin a shootout. Haman remotely brings the Demeter to her, but Hermie triggers the self-destruct on the Yulong. You know, it feels like everyone at this point should have strong motivations for what they are doing, but I just have no idea why anything's happening. The Yulong explosion destroys the Psycho Flare. Haman is mad as she wanted this new toy. Before leaving, Haman grabs the Shamal clone. Conchetta tries to stop her. We flash back once again. Haman is meeting with her sister, Serana. She wants to know why she fights. Haman mentions Marlene's death and blames the zombies, so this acknowledges Marlene's relationship with Dozel and the events that took place in Shin Matsunaga's story. The rebellion with Glimmy is in full effect. She is heading out to Core 3. This is the last time Serana and Haman saw each other. In the present, this enrages Haman and she unleashes all her bits onto the Masala, killing Conchetta. Haman says that Haman is dead. This fake Haman has been Serana Khan the whole time. Back in the past, Lauren Nakamoto is giving Serana Newtype enhancements. This guy's still alive? She says there are rumors that the Red Comet is still alive. Now is the time to continue fighting. The world needs Haman. Haman's Newtype ghost tells her sister that this isn't her. She hates war. She needs to start being herself again. The others are still fighting. Titania grabs Fiorina and places her in the cockpit. I wonder where those two tentacles are going. This seat was originally for Shamal, but will now be for Fiorina. The two fight. Sirocco gets in her head while Mashido tries to help her find the light. This is actually Hyphen apparently controlling it as well. I don't get how this works. He tells Fiorina to kill the false king. The two brawl, but Mashido's skills are on Paptimus level. Mashido uses Takno Jutsu like it's Naruto. Fiorina ends up snapping and killing Hyphen in the Jupiter's-class ship. He tells her not to be consumed by hatred, but she turns her attention on Mashido and the Overon. Roxana and her support Salamis protects the remaining fleet and acts as a shield. Elise fires her high mega cannon, but the power goes out. She does the cliche where she gives the console a whack and it powers up properly. As Overon and Titania are fighting, the beam comes barreling in. Titania tanks the blast. Now is Mashido's chance. He then hears a voice. It is Sirocco. He tells Mashido that she is consumed, but he is ignoring her feelings. Sirocco admits that he was trying to bring forth a new era, but lost sight of it all after he lost someone. He reminds Mashido that Fiorina and Overon are still connected to one another. He unleashes the Grimary system. AUG reinforcements do what they do best and come in a little too late. Lint is a part of this fleet. Serana tells Neo Zeon to pull back and abandon the Psycho Flare. Thane finds Hermie floating out in space, still alive. Mashido tells Sirocco that he isn't him. Since that is the case, Sirocco takes his memories from Mashido so he could go and be a normal kid. Mashido in his mind palace tries to save Fiorina. The majority of this comic takes place in the Newtype realm, at the expense of letting you know what is happening in the real world, and it's kind of annoying. Mashido recognizes the balance one must take as a Newtype. If you're too sensitive to the world, you snap and become Camille. But you also can't turn everyone into pawns and bear the burdens of those around you. It's a balance which is easier when there is someone there to help. Mashido grabs Fiorina's hand. Titania ejects Fiorina. She tries to grab the pod, but he doesn't know how to pilot. Sirocco took his skills with him. He focuses and eventually figures it out. However, Fiorina has lost her memories and doesn't remember who Mashido is. He says they will figure it out together. You're mine now, don't worry about your past. And that will conclude Mobile Suit Gundam Walpurgis. I really enjoyed the elements of this story that focus on Sirocco and his past, but the dialogue was way too overdramatic considering most of these characters had paper-thin motivation and characterization. Also, it's never explained in the manga, but the clan is just Sirocco remnants. I'm sure you assume that, but they never say it. Now that we have concluded Walpurgis, we can begin the prequel series, Walpurgis Eve. This focuses on Serana Khan at the end of the Neo Zeon War as she becomes Haman. But that will do it for now, Newtypes. Remember, high concept is good and all, but sometimes you gotta get out of your mind palace. Peace.